The story begins with a boy named Noah. Today is his first day of kindergarten, and his mother is taking him to school. However, on the way there, the sky suddenly turns pitch black, and from the center of the city, a gigantic monster appears, destroying everything in its path. Its eyes lock directly onto him. Noah suddenly wakes up in absolute panic when he realizes it was only a dream, that he has overslept, and that class is about to begin. The teenage boy hurriedly jumps out of bed because he is already late. Noah is now an ordinary high school student living on his own. Because of the nature of his father's job, his father has been assigned to a long-term overseas business trip, leaving Noah to live alone in a large house. Having no one to nag or supervise him might be something many people would envy. However, for a student like Noah, the emptiness of such a spacious house only makes him feel incredibly lonely. When he arrives at school, Noah meets his best friend, Husky. Noah's attention is immediately captured as Husky excitedly shows off the newest fighting game titled The Blades, The Savior's Battle. Noah wonders because the game is not supposed to be released until next year. Husky proudly explains that it is a test version, and because his uncle is directly involved in developing the project, he was given the privilege of trying it early. Husky also reveals that the game will have an online version as well, but it will only be released after the internal testing phase is completed. These confidential details are known only to internal staff, leaving Noah amazed by how well connected his friend is. While the two boys are enthusiastically chatting, their classmate Anne walks over and reminds them not to dawdle, or they will be late for class. Noah casually responds while keeping his eyes glued to the incredibly cool game screen. Being so distracted, Noah accidentally bumps straight into an extraordinarily beautiful girl. Husky immediately asks if she is alright, while Noah can only stare blankly at the girl he has just bumped into. The two people accompanying her scold him for not watching where he was going and remind him to be more careful in the future, leaving Noah with nothing to do but awkwardly apologize. Just then, a piercing warning alarm echoes throughout the area. The public announcement system repeatedly broadcasts an emergency Tianxia alert at coordinates 1782-3716 after the monitoring system detects high-level magnetic field disturbances. The probability of a Tianxia monster appearing has been confirmed at 99.87%. An emergency evacuation order is immediately issued, instructing everyone in the area to head to the nearest shelter. While Husky becomes extremely excited because the incident is happening so close by this time, Noah curiously runs up to the rooftop to see the enormous monster. Husky panics and chases after him, urging him to return to the school because it is an ultra-safe shelter. At that very moment, the monster attacks the school directly, but fortunately, it is stopped by a protective barrier. Noah looks up at the legendary photon defense shield, amazed by its incredible effectiveness. He thinks he is surely going to die, yet the monster is completely unable to break through the shield. Before long, the rescuers arrive. The squad captain orders the marksman to destroy the monster's eye. The sniper acknowledges the command and fires an accurate shot straight into the monster's eye. The captain immediately follows up by ordering everyone to lock onto the target and unleash continuous fire, forcing the monster to suffer relentless punishment. The overwhelming barrage of firepower leaves Noah utterly awestruck. Soon afterward, the monster is finally defeated. Witnessing such an unbelievably awesome scene ignites a powerful desire within Noah. Someday, he wants to join the Blades, also known as the Saviors. Noah firmly believes that only by eliminating the Tianxia can people truly be protected, not merely to avenge his mother. When the three of them return to the classroom, they are immediately caught by their teacher. She sternly scolds them for ignoring the emergency alarm and failing to return to the classroom for evacuation as required. The three obediently admit their mistake before returning to their seats. Afterwards, the teacher introduces a new transfer student named Daisy. The entire class applauds to welcome her. Noah is astonished to discover that the goddess like Daisy is assigned to the seat right beside him. He notices her suddenly blushing and assumes she must have caught him secretly staring at her. However, the teacher immediately calls Noah out and criticizes him, saying that not only did he ignore the evacuation order, but he is also failing to pay attention during class. As punishment, she orders him to write a 3,000-word self-criticism and submit it to the class monitor by the following day. That afternoon, after school, Noah lets out an exhausted sigh and complains that it is such a troublesome situation. Just then, Anne spotted a family of cats nearby. She quickly took a photo and handed her phone to Noah to show him. Noah complimented her, saying the picture was pretty good, and eagerly asked to see more. At that moment, Noah was surprised to notice that Daisy still had not gone home. He walked over to talk to her, but she acted as though she had never seen him before. Confused by her reaction, Noah was about to leave out of embarrassment when Daisy hesitantly called out to him. To his complete surprise, she suddenly asked Noah to go on a date with her. Noah froze, unable to process what had just happened. Before he could respond, Anne appeared. Embarrassed, Anne hurriedly left, while Daisy excused herself and went home. Noah immediately chased after Anne to the school's swimming pool. In her flustered state, Anne accidentally dropped her phone. Noah picked it up and returned it to her, noticing the photo of the kitten on the screen. He remarked that it was adorable, causing Anne to become shy. She recalled how Noah had always been by her side, helping her in the past. Just as she was about to say something, a monster suddenly emerged from beneath the surface of the pool. Noah immediately grabbed Anne and ran, but the monster was far too fast and cut off their escape at the staircase. With no other choice, the two fled into the swimming pool storage room. In the middle of the crisis, Noah grabbed an axe nearby and decided to stay behind to hold the monster off while Anne ran to get help. Although she did not want to leave him, she had no choice. After agreeing on the plan, Noah charged out to fight the monster and create an escape route for Anne. As she ran, she desperately called for help. Meanwhile, there was no way a human could overpower such a creature. Although Noah initially gained a slight advantage and managed to chop off one of the monster's tentacles, it quickly knocked him flying with tremendous force, leaving him seriously injured. Just when it seemed that this was the end for Noah, a warrior suddenly arrived in time and attacked the monster. The female warrior effortlessly sliced the beast in half before handing Noah a high-grade recovery potion. Noah stared at it in surprise, having no idea how to use it. Suddenly, the monster's upper body was still alive and lunged at the warrior. Caught off guard, she was struck and her helmet was knocked off. To Noah's astonishment, the warrior was actually Daisy. The monster attacked once again, seriously wounding her. Unable to stand by and watch, Noah picked up her weapon and drove it into the monster, delivering the finishing blow that finally killed it for good. This time, he handed the recovery potion back to Daisy. He never imagined that she was actually a member of the Blades. However, Daisy warned him never to tell anyone about what had happened today. Noah agreed, but then he brought up her earlier confession, causing Daisy to suddenly develop the urge to silence him permanently. At that moment, one of the two people who had been accompanying Daisy earlier that morning appeared. He was a police officer who had responded to Anne's call for help. After examining the monster, he wondered why no alarm had sounded when it appeared. He addressed Daisy as "young lady" and anxiously asked whether she had been injured. Afterwards, Daisy knocked Noah unconscious, and the officer took him home. In his dream, Noah once again saw the monster attacking his family. Noah suddenly woke up in his own house, with Anne sitting beside him taking care of him. Sitting on the sofa, Noah could not clearly remember what had happened or how he had gotten home. Anne explained that she had called Officer Liu, who had defeated the monster and brought Noah back safely. Even so, Noah still felt that something was not quite right. Remembering Daisy's warning, he decided to keep his suspicions to himself. Since it was already dark, Noah walked Anne home. Although she insisted she would be fine, Noah insisted on accompanying her because it had become very dangerous to be outside at night recently. Sure enough, in a nearby alley, a young woman was being murdered by an unknown assailant. The next day began with everyone talking about the horrific murder scene that had left the first person who discovered it terrified. The victim was believed to be a young woman between 15 and 20 years old, and no personal belongings capable of identifying her had been found at the scene. On his way to school, Noah also stopped to take a curious look. At the crime scene, Officer Liu stepped forward to stop Noah and warned the young man not to have any improper intentions toward his young lady, who happened to be Noah's classmate, or he would never forgive him. Noah hurriedly denied having any such thoughts. The officer then turned to the murder case and explained that it was a gruesome dismemberment murder. Even though it was his first time seeing such a horrifying crime scene, he found something unusual. Every part of the victim's body had been severed with astonishing precision. He guessed that the murderer must have used an enormous, razor-sharp weapon. but he could not imagine who would be carrying something like that around. From this detail, a hypothesis was proposed that the culprit was the scholar monster, and perhaps yesterday there had not been only one Tianxia. At school, as soon as Noah arrived at the classroom, the class monitor immediately appeared and demanded that he hand in his self-criticism, because yesterday he had dared to provoke Miss Liu. Noah awkwardly made up an excuse, saying that yesterday afternoon a scholar Tianxia monster had appeared in the school and attacked him. He claimed that he had risked his life to kill it, but had also been seriously injured and passed out, so he had not had time to write it. Naturally, the class monitor did not believe such a ridiculous excuse and challenged Noah to tell that story to the teacher herself, then dragged him toward the teacher's office. Just as Noah was begging for another chance, Daisy appeared holding out a sheet of paper and said that it was his self-criticism. She explained that she had borrowed Noah's supplementary textbook and found the self-criticism tucked inside it. Although it seemed somewhat suspicious, the class monitor still took it and went to submit it. Noah hurriedly thanked Daisy. The girl then asked whether what she had done for Noah yesterday and today could be considered helping him. When Noah agreed, Daisy expressed that she wanted to become his best friend. She said that whenever Noah encountered difficulties, she would always help him, while he could help her protect the important secret of her identity. Noah secretly thought that Daisy's attitude had completely changed because she had been touched by his heroic act of saving the damsel yesterday. Even though the young lady kept saying strange things, Noah had no objections and agreed that they would be friends, help each other, and keep each other's secrets. After that, Daisy immediately pulled Noah along so that he could help her adapt to school life as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, back in the classroom, Anne asked Husky why Noah had not arrived yet, and she was shocked when she learned that the two of them had skipped class, even though it was only Daisy's second day after transferring schools. As for those two, they had already left the campus. Daisy admitted that she had been in poor health since childhood, so she had always studied with private tutors at home. Even though she was already this old, this was her first time attending school and also her first time making friends. They entered a shopping and entertainment district. Daisy excitedly bought all kinds of snacks and successfully won prizes from the claw machines. As they walked, Noah kept complaining that yesterday's monster had truly been terrifying. But in reality, what he feared the most was watching horror movies. Then Daisy noticed a clothing store and pulled Noah inside. Inside the shop, Daisy picked up a cute piece of underwear and asked Noah whether it suited her. When Noah awkwardly wondered how he could tell since it was worn underneath clothing, she innocently said she could try it on for him to see, causing Noah to blush and frantically wave his hands in refusal. Their intimate behavior made the people around them whisper that young people these days were really quick to skip school just to go on dates. At that moment, the alarm suddenly sounded, announcing that high-level magnetic field fluctuations had been detected at coordinates 1574-3802, with the probability of a Tianxia appearance being 98.78%. Realizing that the location was very close by, Noah decided to go check the situation first and asked Daisy to quickly escort everyone to a safe place. Daisy wondered why Noah, who was just an ordinary person, was so interested in Tianxia, then quickly led the civilians to evacuate. Noah rushed toward the scene and was horrified to discover the scholar monster. It immediately chased after him, forcing him to run for his life. Suddenly, it was slashed into countless pieces. A female warrior appeared, pointed straight at Noah, and declared that today's prey was him. Then she suddenly froze because Noah looked strangely familiar to her. At that very moment, a sniper attacked from afar, causing the blonde woman to collapse. However, the sniper had to stop upon noticing Noah. This person believed that they had finally found the blades, but Noah had once again interfered in other people's business. Noah was about to save the girl when Monster warned him that if he wanted to live, he should stay away from that woman because she was a devil. Noah looked confused and asked whether she was not one of the blades. At that moment, the blonde woman had already recovered and launched an attack on the sniper. During the battle, the female sharpshooter opened fire but failed to hit the enemy's weak point. Monster mocked her, saying that for a sharpshooter, her physical skills and agility were acceptable, but her marksmanship was terrible because she did not shoot straight at the head. The girl angrily shot back that she had deliberately avoided the vital spots because she wanted him to die in greater agony, as a single bullet could never soothe her fury. Standing outside, Noah had absolutely no idea what on earth was happening as he watched a member of the Blades fighting against one of the saviors. The female warrior shouted that this madman had slaughtered her two best teammates for absolutely no reason, so today she would have her revenge. Monster sneered that she was a fool because the Blades killed the saviors, yet she still talked about friendship between comrades. Ignoring all of his vile insults, Monster declared that today it would be her turn to have fun with him, and the game officially began. The scythe wielder mockingly taunted the sharpshooter, saying that it was obvious he was terrible at close quarters combat, yet he still did not know his own limits and had foolishly rushed to his death. The sharpshooter skillfully dodged the incoming strike by the narrowest margin before quickly retreating and launching a counterattack from behind. However, the scythe wielder immediately unleashed a relentless barrage of attacks, leaving the opponent with no chance to react. She smugly sneered at the sharpshooter, saying that he had unconsciously shown mercy, which had given her the opportunity to get back on her feet. She admitted that his gaze had startled her for a moment, but she also mocked him for taking far too long to charge up his attack. Seeing the sharpshooter stagger to his feet with great difficulty, she continued provoking him, saying that he only had enough ability to put on an act and was merely hurrying to his own death. Refusing to be outdone, the sharpshooter loudly fired back that the one who deserved to die was that useless woman who did nothing but flap her lips. She confidently pulled the trigger, and the attack unexpectedly wounded Monster, causing her to collapse to one knee. The sharpshooter revealed that she had anticipated being forced into close quarters combat, so she had carefully prepared buckshot rounds in advance for this decisive attack. She declared that any defense Monster attempted now would be completely useless and threatened to let her experience what it felt like to be tortured to death by someone else. Watching from the sidelines without understanding anything, Noah spoke up and demanded to know why the Blades and the Saviors, who were supposed to shoulder the mission of maintaining the world's stability and protecting innocent civilians, were now slaughtering each other here. The sharpshooter angrily ordered him to shut up, scolding him that he was nothing more than an NPC and had no right to stand there pointing fingers and interfering with her revenge. Noah looked puzzled, having no idea what an NPC was. Monster let out a cold laugh and explained that NPC meant a non-player character, then exposed the fact that the sharpshooter was breaking the rules. The sharpshooter shot back that she was hardly the only one violating the rules, since Monster herself was openly ignoring the prohibition against maliciously killing other players. Standing in the middle of their argument, Noah was completely confused and had no idea what NPCs or players actually meant. At that moment, the assassin had already recovered and lunged toward Noah, taking him hostage. The sharpshooter said that even if Noah learned the truth, it would be useless because he was about to die anyway. Right then, Daisy appeared and loudly demanded that the assassin stay away from Noah. The assassin warned Daisy not to interfere because Noah's life belonged to her. Daisy firmly refused to let anyone hurt her best friend and swore that she would personally kill that woman. Wasting no time, the assassin unleashed her blood threads, suspending everyone high in the air like works of art. She warned them not to struggle if they did not want to be sliced into countless pieces. Looking at the scene before her, she burst into laughter, mocking the idea that an NPC boy could actually be someone's best friend. Then she came up with a cruel idea. She wanted to see how this foolish little boy would react after learning the truth about the world. Despite Daisy's terrified pleas for her not to say anything, the assassin mercilessly revealed that the world Noah was living in was completely fake and was nothing more than a virtual reality online game. Noah was utterly shocked, refusing to believe her and calling her insane. To prove her point, she pointed at the construction site nearby and asked Noah when that building project had begun. Noah froze as he realized that it had always been under construction ever since he was a little child. Smirking triumphantly, she explained that the map for that location had been permanently set as a construction site, and that even streets completely destroyed by Tianxia would be fully restored in just a single day. She emphasized that such absurd things could never happen in the real world. She then delivered the final psychological blow by declaring that the memories and lives of all the NPCs were nothing more than programmed data created by the supercomputer Gaia. This game attracted players through its overwhelming sense of realism, allowing them to choose factions, hunt monsters, and enjoy the thrill of becoming heroes. She hated this artificial world because someone precious to her had fallen into its meaningless illusion. Therefore, she had decided to ignore every rule and go on a murderous rampage, slaughtering both NPCs and players alike in order to destroy this entire world. After learning this cruel truth, Noah fell into despair, wondering whether everything he had always cherished had truly been meaningless. Just as Noah was at his lowest point, Anne suddenly appeared, shouted his name, and rushed toward him. Even though everyone told her to run because she was no match for the enemy, Anne stubbornly demanded that Noah be released and swore she would never allow anyone to harm him. Her appearance filled the murderer with disgust. She sneered at the idea that mere lines of virtual data dared to speak of friendship, family, or love. Ignoring Noah's desperate cries for her to stop, she mercilessly attacked Anne. She wanted to force all of these meaningless things to accept the cruel reality. Watching Anne collapse, Noah's rage erupted. He broke free from his restraints and rushed forward to catch her. The murderer froze in shock and blurted out that this was absolutely impossible. Noah's eyes burned with fury as he cursed her for being a crazy lunatic and roared for her to get out of his world. He hurled her own scythe straight back at her. The murderer fell into complete disbelief, unable to accept that an ordinary NPC could actually threaten her when she herself was the player who held the power over life and death. Moments later, she was eliminated from the game. Before anyone could recover from the shock, a combat suit suddenly equipped itself onto Noah's body automatically. Everyone immediately recognized it as the standard battle uniform of the Blades. Noah stood there in a daze, realizing that everything Daisy had told him was true. Just as Daisy was about to explain, the female sharpshooter named Bai walked over to examine Anne and announced that she was still alive, although her vital signs were extremely weak. After successfully treating Anne, Bai assured everyone that the girl would regain consciousness before long. Noah hurriedly thanked her and promised that he would never reveal any of this to anyone as repayment for her kindness. After introducing herself, Bai received news that the female assassin had been killed, so she decided to log out of the game immediately and return, reminding Noah to take care of himself before leaving. High above them, two people who had witnessed everything from beginning to end watched with amusement, commenting that it had been quite an entertaining play and that things were becoming increasingly interesting. Afterwards, Noah carried Anne on his back and took her home. Daisy followed behind them, but Noah told her not to follow him anymore. He believed that all that nonsense about being best friends had been a lie, and that from the very beginning she had only been playing with him and treating him as nothing more than a program. Daisy hurriedly denied it. She insisted that Noah really was her very first best friend and sincerely thanked him for everything they had done together. After returning to his apartment, Noah finally invited Daisy inside. Anne was still unconscious. Noah asked Daisy how to remove the combat suit because it did not have any buttons or zippers at all. Daisy took hold of Noah's left hand and explained that the bracelet on his wrist was actually the game's controller. She revealed that after Noah killed the female assassin, the data had changed, causing him to be converted into a player. After checking his status, Daisy was astonished to discover that Noah was only level 1, and that he was the newest of all newcomers. She instructed him to open the controller's main menu and select the equipment interface. However, the moment he did so, all the clothes on Noah's body instantly disappeared, causing Daisy to scream and call him a shameless exhibitionist. She quickly apologized because she had forgotten to tell Noah to prepare a change of clothes first. Noah also apologized, regretting that he had lost control of his emotions and lashed out at her earlier. Daisy confessed that at that moment she had been deeply hurt and had even thought about simply killing Noah outright. However, because Noah was her very first best friend, she could never bring herself to treat him that way no matter what. She went on to reveal that 10 years earlier, in the real world, she had suffered a very serious accident that left her unable to live like an ordinary person. Her butler, Vincent, had introduced this game to her so that she could move around freely once again. She explained that defeating the Tianxia to gain experience and level up, as well as protecting NPCs, were all important missions. She also admitted that when she confessed her feelings to Noah earlier, she had merely been carrying out a quest that required her to confess to a classmate. Daisy further revealed that the Scholar Monster's sudden appearance at the school had originally been part of her beginner quest, but Noah's killing it had made the mission impossible to complete. Noah felt guilty, never imagining that he had affected her so greatly. Afterwards, Noah asked Daisy to help him with one more thing. Having no choice, she agreed to change Anne's clothes, while emphasizing that she would only do this one single time. While changing Anne's clothes, Daisy noticed the photographs hanging in Noah's room. Strangely, they gave her an inexplicably familiar feeling. At that very moment, outside the room, a group of mysterious people named Garrett had been continuously taking photographs when they suddenly detected the appearance of abnormal data. They immediately stopped Noah and accused him of being the source of the powerful and repeated data fluctuations occurring within the commercial district module. Deciding that the abnormal data had to be erased, one of them charged forward to attack Noah, but suddenly froze after noticing the controller attached to Noah's wrist. Daisy rushed over just in time and demanded that they let Noah go. The two strangers introduced themselves as Dark Wolf System Management Programs, or GMs, whose duty was to maintain the system and eliminate errors. They apologized to the player Daisy, explaining that a malfunction in their data tracking device had caused them to attack the wrong target. Just then, the butler Vincent repeatedly sent urgent messages warning the young lady that her father had returned and ordering her to log out immediately. Despite Daisy's desperate pleas for a little more time, Vincent forcibly intervened and made her leave the game at once. Daisy disappeared, leaving Noah alone to face the two Dark Wolf GMs. They scanned Noah's data and were astonished to find that his profession was listed as unknown, while his entire skill bar was completely empty. Suddenly, two other powerful figures appeared. One was recognized as Raven, while the other was Fierce Bear. Fierce Bear warned Raven to be careful before charging forward, declaring that he would smash the enemy's head to pieces. The two of them then deployed a smoke bomb and escaped. Not long afterward, Noah regained consciousness inside a room. He clutched his head and groaned in pain, only to find a young novice monk standing before him. Noah asked who the people in front of him were. A voice introduced itself as Raven and said that the person standing beside him was their leader, Lord Zen Master. Zen Master explained that this place was an extremely well-hidden independent space that he had personally created, making it impossible for Dark Wolf to trace them. He added that what one's eyes saw was not necessarily the truth, and that all things were ultimately emptiness. Zen Master reassured Noah that Raven would not harm him, but would instead protect him because they were all of the same kind. Meanwhile, Raven launched a lightning-fast attack against Dark Wolf. Dark Wolf declared that Noah had disrupted the order of the system and therefore had to be eliminated. Raven cursed that so-called order, but the other merely mocked him for being too weak. The commotion from the battle awakened Anne. Seeing the scene before her, she cried out in panic that someone had been killed. Dark Wolf approached her and warned that she had witnessed things she was never supposed to see. No matter how desperately she cried and begged him not to come any closer, he continued approaching. He said that according to the rules, she should have been eliminated as well, but he had decided to spare her this once. He forced the young girl to open her mouth and put something inside it before telling her to sleep well, while muttering to himself that he needed to restore everything here. Returning to the present, Noah pressed Zen Master to reveal who he really was. Zen Master admitted that he had once been an NPC just like Noah, whose duty had been to guide players in choosing professions and teach them skills. He understood Noah's confusion about the meaning of his existence if this world was nothing more than a game. Zen Master firmly stated that although they lived inside a fictional world, the emotions they experienced were never fake, and those genuine feelings were proof of their existence. He emphasized that NPCs also deserved respect and had the right to freedom. Zen Master then revealed that Noah was the very first person to break through the limits of the system and become an NPC who possessed the characteristics of a player. Noah was the key and the gear that could overturn the rules of this world. Zen Master invited him to join their organization and fight for the freedom of all NPCs. Everything had happened so suddenly that Noah could not immediately accept it. Zen Master agreed to give him time to think it over before passing a warm stream of energy into him. He instructed Noah to adjust his condition and warned him to be extremely careful of Dark Wolf, because they would never spare abnormal NPCs. At the same time, Daisy was filled with worry, but she hoped that Dark Wolf would not attack so easily if they continued to regard Noah as a player. In the real world, Daisy was having a meal with her grandfather. Noticing that she seemed lost in thought, her grandfather asked what was on her mind. Daisy asked about work, and he told her that World of Super Game had entered its final testing phase and would soon be released to the market. Hesitantly, Daisy mentioned that images had recently surfaced in her mind of when she was little, riding a merry-go-round with a young boy and his mother. She also remembered that there had been a man named Garrett standing nearby taking photographs. Hearing this, her grandfather's expression immediately changed, and he sternly forbade her from ever mentioning those things again. The butler, Vincent, gently advised the young lady not to take it to heart because the old master was simply exhausted. Back in the virtual world, Noah suddenly woke up in shock and realized that he was back home, with everything having returned to its original state. His mind was in complete turmoil after all the strange events that had happened one after another. Noah felt relieved that Anne had not woken up yet. However, at that very moment, Anne burst into tears and called out Noah's name. She said that she had heard deafening explosions and screams and had seen an extremely terrifying person. Noah laughed and teased her, saying she was just like a little child who cried after having a nightmare. Secretly, Noah felt relieved, believing it had all been just a dream, and silently vowed that he would definitely protect the people who mattered most to him. In the silence, Dark Wolf let out a mocking laugh, saying that everything had become far too interesting, and declared that Noah would be the next target. In the real world, Daisy sought out the butler Vincent and questioned him about Garrett because her grandfather refused to say anything. Vincent revealed that Garrett had once been the technical director of the supercomputer development team under the Tianyan Corporation, but had mysteriously disappeared 10 years earlier, causing the Gaia project to be abandoned. Daisy confessed that the accident she had suffered when she was 6 years old had erased all of her memories, leaving her unable to remember even her own parents, while everyone who knew the truth had been dismissed by her grandfather. Vincent comforted her, saying that the old master had only done so for her own good. Daisy speculated that the images that appeared in her mind whenever she looked at the photograph of Noah and his mother were actually memories from 10 years ago. She firmly asked Vincent to help investigate what had truly happened 10 years earlier. She believed Noah was the key connecting the game with the real world and became determined to uncover the secret behind World of Super Game. The next day, Noah went to school as usual. However, ever since the incident with the female assassin, he could no longer see the world the same way as before. After getting off the bus, he ran into Husky, who immediately asked whether Noah and Daisy had skipped school the previous day to go on a date together. Noah avoided answering the question. The two of them arrived at school and found Daisy already waiting there. She said she had something private to discuss with Noah. She asked whether he remembered anything about Garrett, but Noah admitted that everything still felt very vague. Suddenly, another emergency alert echoed throughout the campus. The entire school was placed on high alert, and the students immediately began evacuating. Noah and Daisy hurried toward the location of the anomaly. A gigantic bolt of lightning struck the ground, and a fire demon appeared. It was enormous, and its level far surpassed both of them. The monster immediately began attacking and destroying everything around it. Back at the school, Anne anxiously wondered where Noah had run off to again. Meanwhile, at Noah's location, the monster targeted both of them. But fortunately, Officer Liu arrived just in time to help. He blocked the creature's attack before summoning a massive battle axe and counterattacking, forcing the monster backward. Confidently, he declared that he would defeat it quickly. The monster retaliated by launching 2 enormous fireballs, setting all of Officer Liu's clothes ablaze. From a distance, Anne worried about Noah and immediately ran toward him. As Officer Liu was still burning, Vincent appeared and used an ice skill to extinguish the flames. Just then, Anne also arrived, while the monster launched another attack. It unleashed a wall of blazing fire that smashed through the school's protective barrier and headed straight toward it. Inside a control room, Dark Wolf sat watching everything with a sinister smile on his face. Unable to stand by and watch any longer, Daisy decided to join the battle. Together with her 2 bodyguards, she charged forward, forced the monster back, and lured it away from the school. Watching everyone risk their lives to protect others reignited Noah's determination. After escorting Anne to safety, he also equipped his combat gear and rushed in to support Daisy. At that moment, Officer Liu finally succeeded in wounding the monster. However, this only drove it into an even greater frenzy. With a furious roar, it sent him flying. Fortunately, Noah arrived in time to support him. Soon afterward, however, the monster prepared to unleash its ultimate attack. Realizing that stopping it was impossible, Vincent ordered everyone to retreat immediately. But when Noah saw that his friends were in danger, he refused to leave. Even if they were NPCs, they were still his friends. Noah charged straight toward the monster. Seeing this, Daisy also rushed forward to help. The monster attacked Noah. He desperately tried to summon his weapon, but nothing happened. Daisy threw herself in front of him to block the attack, but the monster's power was simply overwhelming. Noah was struck by the attack and lost consciousness on the spot. Daisy rushed over to check on him, continuously screaming Noah's name. She begged Noah to wake up. Suddenly, Vincent signaled that the target had arrived. He ordered Officer Liu to stop Anne, but Officer Liu hesitated because the little witch could not leave him. Vincent shouted at him to stop talking nonsense because that girl was about to lose her life, while scolding Officer Liu for having his eyes on his navel instead of paying attention. Anne continued crying and shouting that Noah could not die. Officer Liu hurriedly warned Anne to go back immediately because if she went any farther she would end up as roasted pork. At that moment, Bai Yu, who was in the distance, was about to intervene, but her captain stopped her and advised her not to meddle in other people's business. He explained that the blazing sorceress had already entered a berserk state, so there was no need to continue the battle, and reminded her that this monster had been attacked first by the blades. Her teammates said that even if they interfered, they would not receive any equipment or experience points, while criticizing the blades for not even knowing how to read the guide. He analyzed that they first had to chop off all of the blazing sorceress's arms, then unleash all DPS and concentrate their firepower on its head. He warned that if those steps were not followed correctly, the sorceress would immediately go berserk and her damage would double. He believed this rookie team was simply too incompetent and wondered why Bai Yu cared so much. Bai Yu explained that one of their members had once helped her while she was carrying out a mission. Even so, the captain coldly ordered an immediate retreat. Bai Yu had no choice but to obey and silently apologize to Noah because that was all she could do. Back at the school, the monster continued launching its attacks. In the midst of the life or death situation, Vincent cast an ice barrier for protection and warned Daisy, but she continued desperately calling Noah's name. At that very moment, Anne's power suddenly erupted when she saw Noah in danger. Dark Wolf, who was observing the battle, was extremely shocked to see that although Anne was not participating in the fight, the bugs inside her body had unleashed an astonishing power. He wondered whose power it actually was. The sorceress also stopped attacking Noah. Realizing that the sorceress had shifted her target to the school building, the young lady hurriedly urged Vincent to save them, and he immediately rushed over. Inside the school building, Husky and everyone else were panicking, while Anne kept screaming that Noah was about to die. Her despair transformed into fury. She roared that she would never allow anyone to hurt Noah. Everyone, terrified, urged one another to run because the escape route had been blocked. The young lady repeatedly shouted for Anne to heal Noah and desperately urged Noah to wake up. Anne angrily screamed that it was the enemy's fault for hurting Noah. Meanwhile, inside his dream, Noah returned to the past where he was riding a merry-go-round. While happily enjoying himself, he suddenly heard the desperate cries for help from his friends. He tried to reach out to them but could not. Suddenly, a little girl helped him. Noah abruptly woke up, but he had completely lost control. From afar, Dark Wolf witnessed Anne's explosive power and decided to personally head there because he felt this boring world had finally become exciting. Meanwhile, Noah went berserk and frantically attacked the monster. The celestial dragon believed the time had finally come. Everyone was dumbfounded, unable to understand what Noah was doing. At the same time, the school barrier system and the sewer barrier system detected energy fluctuations at the highest possible level. Dark Wolf smugly remarked that surprise after surprise kept appearing and declared that Zen Master, the old cunning raven, had finally revealed himself. Meanwhile, Zen Master had exhausted all of his internal energy to unlock every one of Noah's skills and instructed Noah not to disappoint him under any circumstances. Having his power awakened, Noah unleashed an overwhelmingly powerful technique. Sensing the danger, Vincent shouted for everyone to lie down immediately. After that, Noah used the blood threads technique to bind the sorceress, astonishing everyone because it was the signature move of the female assassin. Noah then launched a relentless series of attacks and finally killed the monster. Everyone was stunned by Noah's unbelievable strength. However, after defeating the monster, Noah seemed to lose his sanity and was about to attack Daisy. Vincent immediately warned Daisy to get out of the way. At that instant, Raven appeared and used a restraining technique on Noah to bring him back to his senses. However, Noah still managed to counterattack, knocking Raven's mask away, revealing that Raven was actually the class monitor. When Noah regained consciousness, he looked around in confusion, having no idea what had happened. He soon realized that the one who had saved him was none other than the class monitor, Bluebird. Bluebird explained that Master Zen had already foreseen Noah's outburst and had sent her to help him. Noah asked about the blazing sorceress, and Bluebird replied that she had already been killed by Noah himself. She complained that Noah had dragged her into trouble by exposing her identity, and decided to leave in order to avoid causing any more complications. Seeing that Husky and the others were safe, Noah finally breathed a sigh of relief. Meanwhile, elsewhere, the enemy was closing in on Zen Master's hideout beneath the underground sewers. He mockingly referred to them as sewer rats and coldly declared that this time they would not escape. A fierce battle erupted between the two factions as Black Dog declared that he wanted to avenge Ang Hung. Dark Wolf sneered that Zen Master had finally come out of his isolated space after hiding for years just to relieve his boredom. He challenged Zen Master to reveal his true face. The clash was over in an instant, with the enemy displaying overwhelming strength. He mocked Zen Master for exhausting all of his energy because of Noah, saying that he could barely stand anymore. He demanded that Zen Master obediently reveal information about the other bugs within the system. Elsewhere, Daisy and Noah were watching a press conference announcing the completion of the World of Super Game project after more than 10 years of development. The young lady revealed that the game had been developed by her family's company and that her grandfather had devoted all of his passion to the project. She explained that the Gaia supercomputer used brain scanning technology to connect reality with the virtual world, creating an incredibly lifelike experience. However, she admitted that she wished it were not quite so realistic. At the same time, Vincent was being complained to by Officer Liu for staying in the office grinding to level up his professional skills instead of going out to hunt monsters. Vincent argued that this was where he treated his injuries and complained that staying with Liu was lowering his IQ. Officer Liu ignored him and ordered a drink from an NPC waitress. Vincent brushed off Officer Liu's teasing about developing an office romance. Returning to the main topic, the young lady revealed that she had invited Noah over to exchange information. She promised to share everything Noah wanted to know and reminded him that, as a system administrator, she clearly understood how ordinary NPCs were constantly hunted by the Tianxia. She proposed that they work together to change their fate. Meanwhile, Dark Wolf mocked the idea as hopelessly naive. He explained that the Gaia supercomputer was the true ruler of this world, while they were merely streams of data that had to remain in their assigned positions. He warned that the bugs threatened Gaia's operation, and that Gaia's destruction would mean the destruction of the entire world. Therefore, he insisted that they all had to be eliminated, although he intended to keep Noah alive for a while longer just to amuse himself. The young lady continued sharing the results of her investigation into Noah. She explained that Noah's mother had died during the first Tianxia invasion 10 years earlier. Noah had lived with his father, but because his father was constantly working overseas, he had actually been living alone for a very long time. Noah clutched his head in pain, begging her to stop and accusing her of invading his privacy. The young lady explained that they had never intended to do so, but she had a strong feeling that the two of them were somehow connected because too many extraordinary things had been happening around Noah. She believed Noah was an important clue and took out a photograph of Noah with his mother, asking who had taken it. Noah firmly answered that it had been his father, but when the young lady asked for his father's name, Noah suddenly hesitated and realized he could not remember it at all, leaving her extremely surprised. Meanwhile, the battle between Zen Master and the enemy continued. The enemy mocked Zen Master, saying that his legendary reputation did not live up to reality because he was now nothing more than a helpless old man who could not even protect himself. He touched Zen Master, and the old man was quickly defeated. Disappointed, the enemy declared that the long-awaited duel he had been looking forward to was finally over. Returning to the conversation with Noah, the young lady concluded that they had found absolutely no evidence proving that Noah's father had ever existed, leading her to suspect that Noah's personal data had been altered. She mentioned the name Garrett, the chief engineer of the Gaia project, and suspected that he was the one who had modified Noah's data. She warned Noah that he was now seriously violating the system's rules because all of his skills had been completely unlocked, and advised him to be extremely careful of Dark Wolf. Noah was overwhelmed with confusion, no longer knowing what about himself was actually real. The young lady promised that she would continue investigating and suggested that he learn more about Zen Master, a name that Noah had happened to mention. Returning to the battlefield, Bluebird rushed over in panic, calling out Ayaji's name, but all she found was a pile of ruins, leaving her wondering where Master Zen had gone. Barely clinging to life, Ayaji weakly told her that Willis had arrived. Master Zen's final words echoed through her mind, saying that Noah was the beacon of hope for all NPCs. Returning to their conversation, the young lady deduced that Zen Master was the major bug they had been searching for all along. She suggested that they find Bluebird as quickly as possible because she might know Zen Master's whereabouts and could lead them to him. Meanwhile, outside the building, a young couple was moving into the area. The girl complained that she was completely exhausted because White Wolf had suddenly forced them to move, grumbling that constantly relocating their shop was incredibly troublesome. At that moment, the young man comforted her, telling her not to be angry and promising that everything would soon be over. He urged her to get some rest. Returning to the conversation, Daisy suggested that Noah change his clothes and handed him a set of ordinary-looking clothing because the equipment he was currently wearing attracted far too much attention. Noah tried it on and praised how cool it looked, saying it felt exactly like normal clothes while still retaining all of the equipment's attributes. Daisy warned him not to press the unequip button carelessly, or he might expose his identity. At the same time, Vincent informed them that the game's press conference was about to begin, so they had to log off. He reminded Noah to act carefully and stay away from the GMs. Noah promised to be cautious while waiting for them to return after the press conference. After Noah returned home, he was surprised to find Bluebird already waiting inside his house. Bluebird informed him that, starting today, she would be responsible for protecting his safety. Noah immediately asked her to take him to meet Master Zen, but she revealed that he had already been kidnapped by the system administrator Willis. Bluebird explained that their companions were searching for Zen Master's whereabouts and warned that Willis's next target would most likely be Noah. She analyzed that the school's protective barrier had suddenly failed during the Blazing Sorceress's attack because Willis had deliberately caused it in order to test Noah. Feeling discouraged, Noah admitted that his dream of protecting the world by becoming one of the Blades or the Saviors had turned out to be nothing like he had imagined. However, Bluebird encouraged him not to lose hope because he was the beacon of hope for all NPCs. Although Noah still did not fully understand the meaning of those words, Bluebird believed Master Zen had his own reasons for passing his power on to Noah, and hoped Noah would not disappoint him. Noah silently vowed to become stronger so he could protect their world. That night, while talking in her sleep, Bluebird remained determined not to reveal a single word because of her conviction and her desire to rescue Master Zen. The following morning, Bluebird woke up to find that Noah had already prepared breakfast before quietly leaving. Noah thought to himself that he should have been the one protecting her, yet instead he was the one being taken care of. When Noah arrived at school, he worried that Miss Liu would punish him, but he discovered that Anne was already there. Anne burst into tears, blaming Noah for disappearing all day yesterday. Noah comforted her and learned that after he had fainted the previous day, everyone had taken him to the hospital. Suddenly, Willis's voice echoed out as he teased Noah for making such a cute girl cry. Willis openly appeared before them and challenged Noah. Curious, he asked how Noah had managed to obtain a player's identity. When Noah questioned him about Zen Master, Willis calmly replied that the old man was currently a guest at his home and invited Noah to come visit him. Immediately afterward, he attacked Noah, injuring him. Just as Willis was about to take Noah away, Anne suddenly went berserk, screaming at Willis to stay away from Noah, causing Willis to laugh with amusement as he praised how adorable the girl was. He reassured everyone not to be so nervous, claiming that he had only come to say hello before disappearing. Noah regained consciousness with a slight headache, and the two of them then returned to the classroom. The entire class immediately crowded around Noah, thanking him for saving them the previous day. They complained that Noah had kept his identity as a member of the Blades a secret, and all eagerly asked him to teach them how to become heroes like him. Noah jokingly replied that they were simply jealous and complained that when he had needed help, everyone had disappeared without a trace. Several girls excitedly told him they had placed love letters inside his desk. When Noah opened it, he found nothing and turned to ask Husky about it. Husky, still upset that Noah had hidden the truth from him, deliberately pretended to be busy and ignored the question. Miss Liu suddenly appeared, scolding Noah for making so much noise and threatening to make him write another self-criticism. Meanwhile, Anne quietly watched from the side and silently declared that Noah belonged only to her. As everyone dispersed, Husky called Noah over to question their friendship. Husky complained that Noah had abandoned his old friend to chase after a goddess. Feeling inferior, he said that he was just an ordinary gamer who was not worthy of being friends with a hero. Noah quickly explained that the truth was nothing like Husky imagined and promised to tell him everything. Husky immediately became excited and demanded that Noah teach him how to become one of the blades, making Noah realize that he had been tricked into it. Even so, Noah warned Husky to keep the secret or he might lose his life, then led him to a secluded place. From a distance, Anne watched them leave while quietly murmuring that Noah belonged only to her. Noah brought Husky to Vincent's law office to find him, but Vincent was absent because the press conference had not yet ended. Husky impatiently urged Noah to reveal the secret, but Noah refused to talk there. Suddenly, a dog named Ziober rushed out, pounced on Noah, and happily licked him all over. A young woman hurried over to apologize, rescued Husky from the commotion, and complimented the two boys for being adorable. She invited them to the newly opened cafe across from the law office, mentioning that it was having a 50% discount. The moment he heard there was delicious food at half price, Husky eagerly followed the stranger without hesitation. Noah could only sigh helplessly, thinking that his food-loving gamer friend had been completely lured away by the discount. But he also felt it made sense since they could wait for Vincent there, so he followed Husky into the cafe. Sitting inside the cafe, Noah silently reflected that his current situation was extremely dangerous because the system administrator Willis had already discovered him. He believed Husky would surely think he had gone crazy because even Noah himself still could not fully believe that everything was real. He concluded that if all of it was true, then he had become a game addict inside the game itself. Hearing this, Husky was not frightened in the slightest. Instead, he looked incredibly excited. He said that such a setting was refreshingly unique and that he had finally discovered why he had always been able to dominate every game so effortlessly, causing other players to suspect that he was cheating or spending money. Husky confidently declared that it was simply his natural talent. Seeing his friend's reaction, Noah could not help asking whether Husky was being serious. Husky casually replied that no matter what happened, he was still himself, and being able to live the way he wanted inside the game was already something to be grateful for. He reflected that although their physical makeup and the world they existed in were completely different from those of people in the real world, and although outsiders regarded NPCs as nothing more than illusions, they still could not deny the fact that they themselves were alive. Husky encouraged Noah to pull himself together, then immediately seized the opportunity to demand that Noah treat him to a lavish dinner, leaving Noah both amused and exasperated because he always ended up being tricked by his friend. The cafe owner politely served them 2 cups of the shop's signature coffee and invited them to enjoy them. As Noah was savoring the aroma, Husky nudged him and pointed out that the female owner had been secretly staring at Noah the entire time. Noah immediately became uneasy, thinking that besides the GMs, he now also had to be wary of other players to avoid arousing suspicion. He reminded himself that he needed to behave as inconspicuously as possible. Curious, Husky asked whether the young woman was a player and even took out his identification device to scan her, causing Noah to panic and quickly stop him for fear of attracting attention. Looking around as the cafe gradually filled with customers, Noah forced himself to remain calm. Husky teased that Noah had recently become much more attractive and was enjoying extraordinary luck with women, but Noah brushed the comment aside. Husky proudly claimed that he was an expert in romance, then immediately corrected himself by saying he was only an expert in dating simulation games. He advised Noah not to take things too seriously because relationships between players and characters were always fragile. Husky compared playing games to dating. At first people became obsessed, but once they grew bored, they would simply move on to a new game and abandon the old one. Noah felt a pang of sadness and asked whether Husky was referring to Daisy, then quietly comforted himself by thinking that perhaps Husky was right. Meanwhile, in the real world, Butler Vincent informed Daisy that the press conference documents had been completed. Daisy wearily told him to send them to her computer and quietly worried about what Noah was doing now. Back at the cafe, the owner returned and asked for their opinion of the drinks. Although neither Noah nor Husky knew much about coffee, they both praised it enthusiastically. The owner proudly boasted that it was a carefully crafted work of art and then invited the two of them to work part-time at the cafe with an attractive salary and free meals. Husky immediately agreed, but Noah felt that everything was happening far too coincidentally. Suddenly, Anne appeared at the cafe. She explained that she had come out to buy some snacks and unexpectedly ran into Noah, though in reality she had been looking for him all this time. While Anne was blushing shyly, a cafe employee named Zyolin rushed over and hugged her tightly, repeatedly praising her for being as adorable as a living doll. Despite Anne struggling and calling for help, and the owner constantly reminding Zyolin to stop, she stubbornly continued hugging Anne for a while longer, making the owner furious because he was afraid the customers would run away. The cheerful atmosphere was instantly shattered as the emergency warning system sounded. High-level magnetic field fluctuations had been detected at coordinates 2102-3052, with the probability of a Chancha appearance confirmed at 99.78%. Everyone panicked and rushed toward the nearest shelters. The owner and Zyolin were extremely annoyed that a monster dared to appear and cause trouble right in front of their cafe before anyone had even paid. They quickly recognized it as a level 13 monster called Blast Demon, a creature with no eyes that relied entirely on its hearing to perceive its surroundings. Seeing that the owner and Zyolin paid no attention at all to a level 13 monster, Husky was astonished, wondering just how overwhelmingly powerful they must be. The owner told everyone to remain completely silent if they did not want to be bitten. Then he and Zyolin summoned their weapons and the Savior's battle suits, leaving Husky shocked because their levels were so high that his scanner could not even identify them. The two fought together with flawless coordination. The owner signaled for a quick victory and told everyone to cover their ears before throwing a sonic burst bomb that destroyed the monster's hearing. Immediately afterward, Zyolin and her dog Zyoba charged forward to attack. Zyolin used magic bullets to inflict severe injuries on the monster. Terrified, Anne pulled Noah away, urging him to hide, but Noah stubbornly insisted on staying to fight. Even while being dragged away by Husky, Anne kept turning back and calling Noah's name. Noah immediately summoned the Blade's equipment and weapon. The cafe owner realized that Noah was also a player. He reminded Noah that since they had initiated the battle first, Noah would gain no rewards even if he joined in. But Noah did not care and only wanted to eliminate the Tianxia as quickly as possible. Zyolin found Noah's stubbornness amusing before unleashing corrosion bullets to finish off the monster. However, Blast Demon suddenly swelled up and exploded, releasing countless bizarre eggs, causing Zyolin's trypophobia to flare up again. The owner left the remaining enemies to Noah and Zyolin before taking Zyoba away. Suddenly, a strange sound echoed through the area, drawing Noah's attention. Before Noah and the others could understand what was happening, the eggs left behind by Blast Demon began hatching into countless wriggling larvae, horrifying everyone present. Realizing the situation had become extremely dangerous, they immediately retreated into the building. However, the swarm of insects poured inside after them. Even someone as fearless as Zyolin could not endure such a disgusting sight. The cafe owner concluded that the filthy white wolf must have been behind this and then left together with Zyolin and Zyoba. Husky and Anne panicked as the insects charged toward them. Noah quickly used his weapon to slash through the swarm and protect his friends. Although Noah's strength was remarkable, the overwhelming number of insects gradually exhausted him. At that moment, Zyotao's cries for help rang out from across the street. Seeing the girl surrounded by the swarm, Noah became extremely worried. Husky suggested that Anne run upstairs and hide temporarily to buy Noah enough time to rescue her first. Noah instructed the cafe owner to throw a sonic burst bomb to divert the monster's attention. Noah successfully rushed out to rescue Zyotao, carried her on his back, and escaped upstairs. Seeing Noah safe, Husky and Anne both let out sighs of relief. However, another blast demon suddenly smashed through the wall and appeared right in front of Noah. The cafe owner, standing outside, could only watch helplessly because his battle armor had not yet arrived. Facing the gigantic monster, Husky realized there was no longer any way out and desperately urged Anne to jump through the window in search of a chance to survive. Fortunately, Zyolin arrived just in time to catch the two of them. She explained that she had been chasing that rat for quite a while and had coincidentally ended up saving them. Xiaolin warned that Blast Demon relied on sound to locate its targets, so as long as they did not make any noise, they would be safe. However, Xiaotao accidentally made a sound because she was too frightened, immediately drawing the monster's attention. Seeing Noah in danger, Anne roared that she would never allow anyone to bully him, then rushed out of hiding despite the risk. She grabbed the bomb from Xiaolin, told Xiaoba to drag Xiaolin away, then threw the bomb toward her own position to lure the monster's attention. Right before Noah's eyes, Blast Demon unleashed a skill, firing a sonic wave directly at his two friends. Noah cried out their names in despair, utterly horrified. Witnessing the scene, the cafe owner could not help but exclaim in astonishment that the feelings NPCs had for one another were no different from those of real humans, and that even real people might not necessarily be willing to sacrifice themselves for their companions like this. At that moment, his battle armor finally arrived. He angrily complained that the game focused so much on realism that equipment delivery was so slow it had almost gotten him killed. Noah was consumed by guilt and realized that he was far too weak to protect the people who mattered most to him. His overwhelming rage erupted into unparalleled power. Just as the cafe owner finished equipping his battle armor and fired his armor-breaking cannon at the monster, he was suddenly blasted backward by an immense surge of power. Floating in midair, Noah unleashed Firestorm, a skill that originally belonged to Blazing Sorceress, incinerating every monster and insect in the surrounding area. Amid the sea of flames, the figures of Husky, Anne, and Bluebird gradually emerged, completely unharmed. It turned out that the class monitor had rescued both of them in time. Noah joyfully called out his friends' names, while the cafe owner stared in shock, secretly concluding that Noah was definitely not an ordinary system bug. After everything had settled down, Anne and Husky happily called Noah's name and thanked Bluebird for saving their lives. Xiaotao also expressed her gratitude, though she was extremely worried about how she would explain the office's disastrous condition to her boss, Vincent. Noah comforted her, telling her not to worry because Vincent would surely understand once he learned what had happened. Meanwhile, in the real world, Skynet Corporation's press conference for the launch of World of Super Game was proceeding enthusiastically. Chairman Mo Yun answered reporters' questions regarding the realistic simulation technology used in the game. He stated that the technology had a wide range of applications and that gaming was merely its first step. The chairman also officially announced that the game would be released to the gaming community through a public beta 1 month later. A sharp reporter immediately questioned the rumors that the super intelligent system had frequently malfunctioned, causing the project to drag on for 10 years. Back at the press conference, the reporter continued by raising suspicions that internal players had leaked confidential information and then directed the spotlight toward Daisy, asking her to share her own experience. Behind the scenes, Officer Liu angrily prepared to rush out and tear the reporter apart, but Butler Vincent stopped him to prevent the situation from escalating. Even so, Vincent could not suppress his anger after seeing the reporter deliberately target the young lady. Facing the pressure from the media, Chairman Mo Yun calmly turned the situation around. He declared that the information the reporter had mentioned was exactly what the company had intended to announce. He officially appointed his granddaughter Daisy as the representative of World of Super Game. The reporters immediately began whispering among themselves, questioning why such a frail young lady had been chosen as the game's representative. Chairman Mo Yun proudly introduced Daisy as the company's future heir and explained that this was the first time she had officially participated in the company's affairs. He further explained that Daisy had personally experienced the game's unique appeal, where things impossible in reality could become reality within World of Super Game. He emphasized that creating a parallel world was the reason they had remained committed to achieving such realism and expressed his belief that the game would become a revolutionary milestone. Suddenly, the reporter asked a shocking question about why Daisy had to use a wheelchair and whether it was the result of an accident that had occurred during the project's development 10 years earlier. Chairman Mo Yun firmly denied the accusation, insisting that the company had always placed safety above everything else since its founding. Although the early stages of development had encountered numerous difficulties, there had never been any serious accidents or casualties. He loudly asked the reporters in return whether any of them had ever heard such an absurd rumor before. He condemned the reporters' remarks as malicious slander filled with blood-stained accusations and publicly threatened to pursue legal action against anyone who spread baseless rumors to discredit World of Super Game. Hearing this, the gathered reporters began whispering among themselves, praising the explosive eloquence of the Mo family patriarch. Back at home, Bluebird handed Noah an item that would help his injuries heal more quickly. However, Noah hesitated and did not dare accept it because he was worried that it was something meant for players. He thanked Bluebird for arriving in time, saying that thanks to her help, Anne and Husky had fortunately survived. Noah blamed himself for not being strong enough, for dragging Bluebird into danger, and for failing to properly protect his friends. He admitted that he was exhausted from constantly watching the people around him get hurt and longed to become stronger. Bluebird comforted him and explained that most members of the Crow organization were ordinary NPCs, but through extremely rigorous training they had acquired outstanding combat abilities. She pointed out that although Noah's skills had already been unlocked and were very useful for leveling up, his lack of real combat experience prevented him from bringing out his full potential. She offered to train him in practical combat techniques, leaving Noah deeply grateful. The training began so suddenly that Noah flusteredly asked the class monitor to give him some time to prepare. Bluebird showed no mercy and immediately launched an attack, teaching him a harsh lesson that an enemy would never wait for him to be ready. She struck him with painful blows so he could experience the consequences of letting his guard down, making Noah cry out and beg for mercy while promising that he would never make the same mistake again. Switching to the real world, the old master furiously scolded Butler Vincent and Officer Liu for daring to let Daisy play a video game. He feared that the media would use the incident to attack his precious granddaughter and was enraged that his subordinates had openly disobeyed his orders. Butler Vincent calmly explained that the young lady had only just logged in and that the system merely used laser scans on her brain, causing absolutely no harm to her health. He firmly defended his position that allowing the young lady to continue playing World of Super Game was the right decision because she should not be deprived of the opportunity to enjoy happiness and freedom simply out of fear of media scrutiny. The old master angrily interrupted him, declared both of them fired, and ordered them out. Just then, Daisy spoke up in defense of the two servants and took all the blame upon herself, admitting that she had been the one who ordered them to play the game with her. She confessed the overwhelming loneliness of always living by herself without classmates or even a single friend by her side. Holding back tears, she admitted that she knew she would probably never be able to stand on her own 2 feet for the rest of her life, and sobbed as she blamed herself for being so stubborn that she had only made him worry. Hearing the heartfelt pain in his granddaughter's words, the old master's heart softened with sorrow. He gently wiped away her tears and said that all he wanted was for her to live happily, but made her promise to take good care of her health. He then withdrew his decision to dismiss the two servants and sternly ordered them to protect the young lady's safety at all costs, while also investigating the background of the reporter who had harbored ill intentions during the recent press conference. Back in the virtual world, Bluebird continued correcting the angle of Noah's arm during training. When the practice ended, she offered to go into the kitchen and prepare some food to return the favor for the breakfast Noah had made earlier. At that moment, Anne stormed in and declared that she would personally cook dinner for Noah as his close-range bodyguard. A heated argument immediately broke out as Anne demanded that Bluebird leave Noah's house. Bluebird firmly refused, insisting that her mission was to stay by Noah's side and protect him. Neither of them was willing to back down until Noah finally shouted to stop the quarrel. Anne confidently claimed that Noah liked her cooking the most, but Bluebird calmly walked into the kitchen as if she knew the place inside out. She knew exactly where every knife, frying pan, and ingredient in Noah's refrigerator was kept, leaving Anne both astonished and frustrated. Bluebird warned that kitchen knives were dangerous and advised Anne to behave herself and just cook instant noodles instead, but Anne stubbornly refused to admit defeat. While cooking, Anne clumsily caused the flames to flare up violently and panicked as she cried out for water to put out the fire. Noah rushed in to help, but accidentally tripped and fell on top of Anne in an extremely awkward position right in front of Bluebird. Furious, Bluebird scolded Noah for having no sense of shame and immediately charged over to beat him up despite his painful attempts to explain himself. Just as Noah was crying out miserably, Officer Liu and Vincent logged back into the game. Meanwhile, Officer Liu saw the intimate scuffle and instantly flew into a rage, demanding a fight to the death with Noah. He cursed Noah as a lustful beast, a shameless perverted exhibitionist, for daring to do such indecent things to his pure young lady, and roared that Noah had to pay with his life. After all the misunderstandings were cleared up, the group happily decided that, since the next day was the weekend and there were no classes, they would go on a trip together to celebrate Daisy's successful work in the real world. Bluebird and Anne continued competing with each other, staying glued to Noah's side without leaving him for even half a step. Everyone excitedly chose the beach as the ideal destination, with its blue sky, white clouds, and cool seawater. Officer Liu became so overjoyed that he almost went crazy because he had not had a single day off for 5 whole years, to the point that his body had completely run out of vitality. He swore that he would curse 100 times every day anyone who dared ruin this wonderful vacation. Meanwhile, in the real world, Butler Vincent carefully checked Daisy's physical condition and brainwave activity together with a medical staff member. Seeing that all of her indicators were normal and stable, he felt relieved and asked for permission to step outside for a while. However, the moment the door closed, the medical worker slowly turned around and revealed a sinister smile. It turned out to be the female assassin. She stared at the sleeping Daisy and whispered threateningly that she would take very good care of her while she was happily playing with her best friend Noah. Not long afterward, Noah and his friends were enjoying their vacation. Everyone felt lucky, though somewhat regretful, that Vincent had not come with them. However, they quickly joked that if that green-haired turtle showed up, he would only make everyone even more nervous. Daisy gazed at the sea and quietly admitted that she was not even sure whether she had ever seen the ocean 10 years ago. After arriving, Husky crawled out of the trunk of the car complaining that Noah's terrible driving had nearly gotten him killed. Everyone teased him that his body was too big to fit in a seat, while Husky stubbornly argued that he simply did not want to be left behind. Meanwhile, the owner and the 2 cafe staff members were also there. The cafe owner was in the middle of secretly glancing at a charming girl when someone painfully twisted his ear. He protested that he was carrying out a mission assigned by the guild leader and proudly declared that, as one of the few healthy gamers, there was no way he could resist the blue sea and girls in bikinis. Immediately afterward, Bai Yu, who was also his biological younger sister, appeared and argued with him, accusing her brother of deliberately coming here to stir up trouble. Returning to Noah's group, Daisy appeared radiantly in her swimsuit like a goddess. Noah smiled and praised her, saying she looked adorable and that the style suited her perfectly. Anne happily pulled Noah away to go swimming and demanded that he stay within her sight at all times. After that, everyone began playing beach volleyball. Laughter echoed across the beach as Husky kept being called upon to receive one powerful serve after another. While everyone was playing, Daisy quietly sat alone on the sand. Noah walked over to ask how she was doing. Daisy confessed that seeing everyone having so much fun made her happy, but she was afraid that if she became too deeply involved, she would no longer be able to distinguish reality from illusion. Noah told her that they were best friends and advised her to broaden her horizons so that in the future her world would become richer and she would have more choices. Noah asked Daisy whether this virtual world was also one of her new choices. After that, Daisy cast aside her worries and stepped onto the volleyball court. She eagerly asked to join the game. Everyone reminded her that they were only playing volleyball, not fighting monsters, so she needed to be gentle. Elsewhere, Husky proudly claimed to be a master sandcastle builder, but ended up trapping himself inside a bizarre-looking sand sculpture and had to call Noah for help. The fun continued with a thrilling jet ski ride. Suddenly, Noah caught sight of a girl who looked strangely familiar, but Daisy could not see her at all. Noah found it odd but continued riding the jet ski. Daisy happily said that she wanted to come here often in the future. However, Noah remained uneasy, wondering why he cared so much about that girl and suspecting that she was the same illusion he had seen before. The girl's figure kept appearing and disappearing, causing Noah to slam on the brakes in shock. Daisy warned him never to let his guard down. On the shore, Anne silently watched Noah and firmly believed that he was the most important person to her, even though Bluebird advised her to give up. At the same time, someone kept calling Aoji, only to repeatedly hear the automated message that the subscriber could not be reached. An ominous feeling spread through the air. In a dark place, the enemy declared that the little raven's game of hide and seek had come to an end. He knew that his target was at the beach with Noah, so he dispatched his forces to add even more excitement. At that very moment, the emergency Tianxia alarm sounded. At coordinates 15283122, a powerful magnetic field fluctuation had been detected, with a 98.95% probability of a chancha appearing. Noah and the others were horrified to realize that the location was right here. Out at sea, a suspicious ship appeared. Noah and the others immediately decided to board the ship first to investigate its identity. A gigantic tentacle suddenly shot up and tightly wrapped itself around the ship. Realizing that the monster had no intention of letting go, everyone had no choice but to confront it head-on. Noah shouted a warning and charged forward to attack. Everyone recognized it as a gigantic octopus, and the appearance of this monster could not possibly be a mere coincidence. They discovered that both Daisy and Noah were trapped aboard the ship under attack by the giant octopus. The monster was identified as Kraken, a gigantic sea creature from Norse mythology. Natty did not care what kind of monster it was and decided to rush in and slash at it. He reminded Daisy that her level was not high enough and told her not to push herself, but Daisy stated that she had already determined the monster's level. She summoned a rocket launching system and fired continuously. However, the barrage seemed to have no effect whatsoever on Kraken. Just then, Anne and Officer Liu arrived to support Daisy. Noah successfully restrained the monster with blood thread entanglement, but Kraken quickly broke free. From beneath the whirlpool, the monster launched missile attacks. Daisy and the others were relentlessly assaulted by Kraken. Noah ordered them to retreat into the cabin while he dealt with it. Daisy followed his instructions and protected the people on board while Noah and his companions launched an all-out assault. Noah unleashed bone-shattering slash, but it was completely ineffective. Everyone was shocked to discover that Kraken was immune to physical attacks. Officer Liu decided to use his own special technique, yet Kraken remained completely unharmed. Kraken detonated explosions high in the air, creating countless fragments that rained down like a bombardment. Noah used blood thread entanglement to shield everyone, but the shockwave from the explosions still blasted all of them into the sea. Underwater, the monster continued its relentless assault, while Natty lost consciousness. Amid the chaos, Noah was suddenly drawn into another space. A mysterious girl appeared and introduced herself as Gaia, the super AI that ruled this world. She revealed that she had tried to connect with Noah many times and had only succeeded today. Gaia affirmed that the visions Noah had seen were not illusions, and that the woman in them was his biological mother in the real world. Noah was utterly stunned and could not understand what was happening. Gaia urged Noah to hurry and save his mother because there was not much time left, then disappeared. At the same time, Anne desperately protected Noah at all costs. She then erupted with tremendous power and defeated the monster, while Natty also regained consciousness and brought her back. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief when they saw that Kraken had disappeared. Afterward, Noah told everyone about meeting Gaia and learning that he had a mother in the real world. Officer Liu assumed Noah had inhaled too much water and was hallucinating, but Daisy angrily scolded him and ordered him to keep quiet. Noah was completely overwhelmed and had no idea what he should do. In a dark corner, the female assassin smiled sinisterly and decided to keep Daisy trapped in the virtual world forever so she could continue enjoying her sweet dream. As if the curse had come true, Daisy suddenly collapsed. Noah panicked, rushed over to hold her in his arms, and repeatedly called her name, begging her to wake up. Upon discovering that Daisy had fallen into a coma, her grandfather became extremely alarmed and kept calling out to her, but there was no response. The medical staff concluded that the cause might be the login device. Although they tried every possible method, they were unable to force Daisy to log out of the game. Her grandfather cursed in anger and decided to personally investigate what was happening. He instructed the medical staff to remain behind and take care of the young lady. At Skynet Corporation, the old master was overwhelmed with grief and pleaded for Daisy to be saved because he could not bear the pain of losing another granddaughter. Butler Vincent reported that the situation was extremely serious because Daisy's avatar inside the game had also fallen into a deep coma, and there was no way to log her out. Vincent revealed that the cause was that the login device had been implanted with an illegally modified chip, leaving the old master shocked and furious as he demanded to know who would want to harm the young lady. Vincent explained that removing the chip improperly would trigger its self-destruct program and put her life in danger. The old master suggested cutting off the power so the machine would automatically force a logout. But Vincent stopped him, explaining that because the device had already been tampered with, there was no guarantee the logout program would still function. If the power was cut and the forced logout failed, Daisy's consciousness would remain trapped inside the game forever, separated from her physical body, resulting in brain or psychological damage from which she might never recover. Vincent then mentioned Garrett, the only person capable of resolving the problem. The old master agreed and instructed Vincent to stay behind and continue taking care of Daisy. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Officer Liu anxiously asked Vincent whether he had found the cause yet. Vincent told him to go get some rest while he stayed behind to keep watch. Officer Liu went outside to smoke. At that moment, Noah stood beside Daisy's hospital bed, sadly hoping that she would wake up soon. Noah recalled all the promises he had made with Daisy about going to the beach, climbing mountains, and visiting amusement parks together. In the virtual world, Willis had captured Zen Master and threatened him. Zen Master asked why Willis had captured him instead of eliminating him. Willis explained that the system had granted Noah tremendous power, yet Noah did not know how to cherish it, and he intended to seize that power for himself. He mocked Zen Master, saying that he was about to become nothing more than a useless cripple. Zen Master fought back with all his strength but failed. Willis smugly declared that he would use Zen Master's power to punish those NPCs who refused to obey. Zen Master was ultimately defeated. Meanwhile, Gaia appeared once again at the hospital. She urged Noah to hurry and save his mother because there was not much time left. However, Noah was more worried about Daisy. At the same time, news outlets were extensively reporting a serious safety incident involving the game world of Super Game. Reporters revealed that Daisy, the game's official spokesperson, had fallen into a deep coma while playing and was currently receiving emergency treatment at the hospital. The news immediately sparked public concern over the safety of the product. Reporters attempted to contact Skynet Corporation, but received no response. They surrounded Mo Yun and questioned him about whether Daisy's life was in danger, and whether this incident would affect the game's launch schedule. Daisy's grandfather watched the news and became extremely worried. Mo Yun went to meet the game's developer and pleaded with him not to shut down Gaia because it represented both his own life's work and Mo Sheng's. He was also afraid that if Gaia were shut down, Daisy would never wake up again. However, the developer firmly refused because he feared that Hira would disappear forever. Unexpectedly, Monster, the developer's adopted daughter, appeared. She admitted that she was the one who had tampered with Daisy's login device and leaked the information to the media. Monster explained that she had done so because she hated the supercomputer that had caused her father to suffer for the past 10 years, and she wanted him to accept the truth that the loved ones who had died would never return. Afterward, Noah woke up inside an amusement park and saw Daisy. Finally, Vincent discovered a classified file from 10 years ago that revealed the list of victims of the Gaia research accident, including Chairman Mo Sheng, his wife, their daughter Daisy, Chief Engineer Garrett, Garrett's wife Hira, and their son Noah. The shocking truth was finally revealed. The Noah from 10 years ago had died in the Gaia research accident, and he was in fact Garrett's biological son. At that moment, inside the virtual space, Daisy and Noah suddenly found themselves standing in the middle of a vast amusement park. When Noah wondered why they were there, Daisy also had no idea, but she felt an overwhelming sense of familiarity, as though she had visited this place a very long time ago. Noah noticed the merry-go-round and invited Daisy to ride it together. At that very moment, Noah froze in shock when he saw the image of a little boy happily running toward his father, and realized that the child was none other than his younger self. His childhood memories came flooding back as young Noah was praised for looking just like a little prince, while little Daisy happily imagined herself as a princess. Daisy's father playfully teased his precious daughter, asking why she was in such a hurry to become someone else's princess. But her mother smiled gently and said that it was wonderful if their daughter was a princess in everyone's eyes. Seeing that happy scene, Daisy realized that this was the deepest part of her memories. Noah finally understood why Daisy could not remember what had happened that day. It was because, deep within her heart, Gaia had been avoiding and suppressing those painful memories. Noah silently resolved that he had to find a way to take his mother, Hira, away from this place. Gaia burst into tears, blamed herself for everything, and begged for forgiveness, but Noah was only anxious to know where his mother was and what had really happened. the memories continue to replay, showing young Noah and young Daisy happily riding the merry-go-round while the adults stood outside, carefully reminding the children to sit still and hold on tightly. Not far away, Garrett was still immersed in his work, complaining that the design parameters of the lawn were not soft enough to satisfy the children. Chairman Mo Sheng patted Garrett on the shoulder and reminded him not to think about work while on vacation. Mo Sheng emphasized that the purpose of this family gathering was to directly evaluate the effectiveness of the simulation technology before returning to make a report. Garrett confidently promised that he would bring a great surprise to the whole world. At that moment, Hira appeared and reproached her husband for not setting aside an entire day to play with Noah, causing Garrett to immediately obey his wife's wishes. Little Noah happily showed everyone that he had found a 4-leaf clover, making little Daisy want one too, but no matter how hard she searched, she could not find one. Garrett then encouraged the children to search the meadow farther away, assuring them that there were still plenty of 4-leaf clovers there. Garrett was about to help the children look for them, but Mo Sheng teased him for secretly thinking about checking for bugs in the meadow module again, making both of them burst into laughter. After that, the whole family ran off to search for 4-leaf clovers. Suddenly, Natty's mother discovered a little girl who had gotten lost. When she approached to talk to her, the little girl burst into tears until her father arrived and hugged her. Just then, the surrounding space suddenly began shaking violently, causing Daisy to cling tightly to her father in fear. Garrett hurried off to investigate and discovered that the system had become unstable. He quickly ran back and announced that the malfunction had gone completely out of control and could no longer be fixed, shouting for Mo Sheng to get everyone out immediately. The scene instantly descended into complete chaos. Hira panicked and stopped Noah from running toward her, promising that she would come back right away, but everything was already too late. Daisy's mother tightly embraced her daughter, comforting her not to be afraid, before Mo Sheng urged her to take Daisy and escape first. Mo Sheng desperately tried to go back to rescue Hira and Noah, but he was too late. A tremendous explosion rang out, taking the lives of Daisy's parents as well as Noah and his mother. From within the nightmare, Daisy suddenly woke up on her hospital bed. At the same time, Noah also slowly regained consciousness after collapsing unconscious beside her bed. Everyone around them breathed a sigh of relief because the two of them had nearly scared everyone to death. At that very moment, Willis appeared before Noah with an arrogant expression. He declared that Noah was the greatest system bug since the birth of this world, and that, as a system administrator, it was his duty to eliminate him. Meanwhile, in the real world, Garrett painfully explained why he could not shut down the Gaia system. He recounted that after the accident 10 years earlier, the consciousnesses of Noah and Hira had remained trapped inside the virtual world. Miraculously, Gaia had gradually stabilized again, so he decided to modify and maintain the server so that they could continue living within that space. The others strongly opposed keeping a computer that had once caused people's deaths, regardless of the safety risks. However, Garrett firmly defended the virtual space technology because it was a miracle and also the unfinished life's work of Chairman Mo Sheng. His adopted daughter, Monster, urged her father to stop tormenting himself because for the past 10 years he had lived in constant suffering and the daily fear of losing his loved ones. Back in the virtual world, Willis swung his weapon at Noah and declared that Noah's existence had violated the order of the world, so he had to disappear completely. At the height of the confrontation, World of Super Game began showing signs of collapsing, leaving everyone wondering what cruel scheme Willis was plotting. Willis had appeared, and the person he intended to eliminate this time was none other than Noah. He spoke about the endlessly long period during which he had worked mechanically, dealing with system bugs in an incredibly dull and monotonous routine. However, the appearance of Raven, and especially Noah, had brought him many fascinating surprises. With his hands clasped together, he expressed his gratitude to Master Zen and Noah for becoming the reason he finally took things seriously and began to find this world interesting. Noah furiously cursed Willis as a psychopath for mercilessly slaughtering all of his comrades merely for his own amusement. Willis did not deny it. Instead, he calmly admitted that eliminating system bugs did not necessarily require killing them, but the act of killing gave him an overwhelming sense of exhilaration. After saying that, Willis launched his attack. Bluebird risked her life to shield Noah, but Willis quickly killed her without mercy. He mocked Bluebird for overestimating herself, then turned to Noah and declared that he would personally tear him apart to extinguish the light of hope that all the other system bugs were desperately clinging to. A fierce battle erupted, but Noah was clearly no match for his enemy. Seeing Noah being pushed back repeatedly, Daisy and Anne panicked and tried to rush in to help. Despite having only just recovered, Daisy stubbornly insisted on joining the fight. But everyone desperately stopped her because doing so would not save anyone, and would be no different from committing suicide. Annoyed by the commotion, Willis frowned. He used the independent space ability inherited from Zen Master to imprison everyone else, forcing them to helplessly watch as he personally finished Noah off. Willis charged forward and unleashed a fatal strike intended to eliminate the greatest system bug that had ever existed. At that critical moment between life and death, Anne suddenly broke through her limits and mutated into a Tiantia to block the attack. Ignoring Willis's insults that mutated NPCs had no right to exist in this world, Anne used the last of her strength to transfer healing energy to Noah. A voice then explained that Anne had originally been created as a guardian based on Noah's existence, which was why she had always stayed by his side to protect him. Anne's sacrifice completely restored Noah. However, Willis coldly sneered that such a meaningless sacrifice had only allowed Noah to struggle on for a little while longer. Filled with hatred, Noah roared that Willis was the one who truly deserved to be erased from this world. Willis confidently declared that, as the system administrator, he would undoubtedly be the final victor. Noah fiercely retorted that this world did not belong to him, and the two charged at each other, creating an earth-shattering explosion. Those trapped outside feared that Noah had perished together with Willis. The explosion caused devastating destruction, making the surrounding space unstable as it began to collapse. After the shockwave, Noah regained consciousness in a mysterious space where he came face to face with Gaia. Gaia urgently begged Noah to take Hera out of the isolated space as quickly as possible because she no longer had the power to release her. Meanwhile, in the real world, the system alarm warned that the data load had reached an overload state. If it continued, Hera would die and Gaia would also be completely destroyed. Garrett refused to give up because he longed for his wife and son to live. Monster broke down in tears as she watched her adoptive father sacrifice everything while carrying so much pain for all these years. Garrett confessed that their continued existence was the only reason he could keep living and still feel happiness. He gently comforted Monster, telling her that they were also her family, and sincerely apologized for not giving enough attention to his adopted daughter all this time. His heartfelt words moved Monster to tears as she called him Dad. Back in the virtual world, Gaia confided to Noah that Hera's warm embrace had always calmed her down whenever she lost control. Because she was terrified of loneliness and could not bear to part with Hera, Gaia had selfishly kept her in this world. However, Hera's mind and body had now become separated, causing her life force to rapidly fade, and her consciousness was on the verge of disappearing from the world forever. Through tears, Gaia begged Noah to return his mother's consciousness to the real world and save her life. Calling Hera mother, Gaia tearfully apologized to Noah for taking his mother away from him. At that moment, Noah suddenly awoke and found himself inside a game control panel. Husky burst with joy upon seeing his friend safe and immediately switched the game mode to free Noah. The moment he escaped, Noah urgently told Husky that he finally knew where his mother was, leaving Husky utterly stunned, while Willis's shadow still lingered nearby, signaling that the battle was far from over. The system began locking down the abnormal data stream as Willis completely lost control. He frantically roared that he would erase everything and continuously unleashed his power to attack the surrounding players, making everyone realize that this guy had truly gone insane. Immediately afterward, the system detected an abnormal magnetic field fluctuation at coordinates 491, 2733. Leaving everyone wondering why Noah had appeared at that location. Faced with Willis's overwhelming power as he began splitting into two copies, the group of players had no choice but to call for a retreat as quickly as possible because they could no longer afford to keep fighting while the isolated space was gradually disappearing. In the real world, Daisy's grandfather urgently contacted her, informing her that World of Super Game was operating extremely unstably and ordering her and everyone else to log out immediately. However, Daisy firmly refused because she could not abandon Noah ever again. Realizing that the system was about to collapse, her grandfather anxiously ordered a forced disconnection to bring them all back. His subordinates hurriedly stopped him because forcibly disconnecting them while the game was in such an unstable state would cause severe damage to the young lady's brain. Amid the chaos, Vincent requested permission to meet Garrett. Inside the isolated space that was gradually collapsing, Willis continued screaming that he would erase everything standing in his way. Bluebird threw her weapon to Noah so they could fight shoulder to shoulder, but they were shocked to discover that the enemy continued splitting into countless additional copies. Outside the server room, Garrett was extremely busy when he received an urgent report that Noah had found Hira and was trying to bring her consciousness back. Hearing this news, Garrett stood frozen and dropped what he was holding. His subordinates earnestly begged him to stabilize World of Super Game again in order to buy Noah enough time to fulfill his wish. Back on the virtual battlefield, the players supported one another and pushed the enemy back. Daisy also joined the battle personally, unleashing skill after skill against the monsters whose numbers kept increasing. While fighting, Vincent announced that the system had issued an order requiring all players to log out immediately. He worriedly explained that Garrett was giving everything he had to restore the system, and if he failed, every player who had not logged out, together with this virtual world, would likely be annihilated. Even with the situation hanging by a thread, Daisy and everyone else placed their complete trust in Garrett's abilities. The enemy's clones continued recovering and multiplying at an astonishing rate, forcing the players to find a way to keep them under control. At that moment, Zyoba and Zyobai unexpectedly appeared as reinforcements. At this critical moment between life and death, everyone decided to cast aside the boundaries between factions and fight side by side. Zyobai charged into battle and shot down the enemies to rescue everyone. Inside the control room in the real world, the engineers confirmed that the hardware had not suffered much damage and that the real problem lay deep within the system itself. They began filtering through the program scripts and discovered abnormalities within the character source code, immediately dividing up to repair them. Inside the game, ammunition was gradually running out, yet the enemy encirclement continued multiplying because Willis kept splitting himself apart. The players threw grenades and fired sniper shots to eliminate the enemies one by one, struggling to reduce the number of clones. Noah became trapped within the encirclement and could not escape. Daisy rushed over to support Noah, loudly calling the enemy an annoying nuisance before unleashing her decisive attack. At the same time in the real world, Monster stepped forward and accepted responsibility for fixing the system error that she herself had written. Thanks to her efforts to accelerate the repairs, the final bottleneck was finally about to be overcome. Inside the game, Noah's group poured all of their strength into attacking and eliminating their target. Willis screamed that he would erase the entire world, but in the end he was defeated and shattered into pieces. Just as Noah lacked the final bit of strength needed to break through the isolated space, Daisy arrived in time to support him. A voice from the system echoed, welcoming the honored player and announcing that the barrier had been completely broken. Noah smiled, turned to thank Daisy, then looked ahead with tears in his eyes and softly called out, "Mom." After everything had finally settled, World of Super Game held a grand press conference. In front of numerous members of the media and many familiar faces, the official representative solemnly announced that World of Super Game would officially launch according to the originally announced schedule. Cheers erupted enthusiastically from the crowd, officially welcoming everyone into the era of World of Super Game. The movie ends here. Goodbye.